Let's do this. Hey, it's the DELO here with another podcast, and I am coming at you from ALIC, Arizona Liquor Industry Consultants, and I have my guest today, Mr. Craig Miller.
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. This is my second interview with another human being. My first one was my dad, and we had a really good podcast, and so Craig is now my next amazing guest that I have, and we're going to talk about the Arizona liquor industry and what it entails, and Title IV, and talk about some crazy stories that have gone on over the years and Craig's experience and what his organization does. So to kick it off, I want to get a little bit of background from you, Craig, and where are you from originally?
I'm an Arizona native, born and raised.
Love that.
Can't imagine living anywhere else. Made Arizona my home once I was born, and it's where I'm going to stay.
Awesome. So, when did you get started as far as getting into, wanting to be a part of the liquor industry, hospitality industry?
I was a small town cop early on, and I took a course. They came down and taught a class. It was the guys from the Arizona Department of Liquor taught a class, and I thought, man, that was pretty cool. Imagine that, I get to work nights, weekends, and holidays, and all these festivals, and that sounded good as a kid. And then when I got a little bit older, working nights, weekends, and holidays wasn't quite as attractive, but I stayed with it.
Nice. And what was your first job?
My first job was a thriving metropolis of Pima, Arizona, a small town. I think there was a chief and 2 patrolmen.
Okay.
And then I worked at the town of Miami Police Department before I went to the Department of Liquor.
In Miami, Arizona.
The thriving metropolis of Miami, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So you got a lot of background and history doing that sort of stuff. And then you went and worked for the Department of Liquor.
Started there in 1997. Worked with guys like Norm Perkins, Gary Schumann, the guys who really invented liquor enforcement in Arizona. These guys, Howard Adams was the director at the time. Myron Moosefelt, the deputy director. Myron's probably the most knowledgeable guy ever in Title IV, so it was a great fit. Wonderful 20 years.
Wow, 20 years. So that being said, when you look at 20 years ago and you look at now, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen, as far as the industry?
I'd say starting out back then, no one foresaw going to the grocery store and sitting at a bar and having a drink.
Crazy.
No one foresaw what the industry has morphed into. No one could see, Corey area was a huge player then, but for what he's created now, going to multiple states, some of the hottest venues in the country. So you take a guy from Arizona who's able to build on that. So the Arizona industry is now on the market. It wasn't really a huge location, known for its cocktails, but you had Rod Simon come to Arizona, kick open his places, and it's changed the marketplace.
Yeah. So would you say that drinking in the last 20 years has in Arizona has created quite an uptick and the industry itself has just exploded?
Yeah, I would say there's not many activities in Arizona that don't involve a certain amount of alcohol.
Yeah.
Arizona is a huge event-driven state, and the alcohol and these events go hand in hand.
Yeah, and there's a ton of special events. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I know you're involved with everything from the Phoenix Open to the Ostrich Festival to we were just talking about Arizona Cocktail Week, and there's probably an event every weekend out here.
This time of year, there's 2 or 3. This weekend, maybe not a bunch of big ones due to the rain, but yeah, we're in the event season.
Yeah,
it's going to be an amazing year. Ostrich Festival's coming. They've got amazing entertainers. We got the following weekend Pot of Gold Festival, so there's something to do with spring training and festivals every day in March, pretty much.
Yeah, the only time it really dies down is probably during the summer, but you still have the Craft, Brewers Association doing the indoor
events. Yeah, Arizona's nice. We have plenty of facilities that allow indoor activities.
Yeah, and so part of what you do with ALIC is you'll help administer those events as far as the liquor protocols and the security plans and all that sort of stuff.
You bet. We work real closely with the nonprofit groups and helping ensure, one, they get insured with you and make sure they're properly protected. check their policies, procedures, do their training for their bartending staff, whoever's gonna come out. And then we can send a compliance team out to ensure they're complying with all the laws. And,
Yeah.
that way when the Department of Liquor or local PD shows up, everything's in line and there's no issues.
Okay, that's awesome. You left the Department of Liquor, you came over, you're now owner of ALIC with the Amy Nations, right?
Yes.
And who else do you have here, and how does your operation roll in that sense?
ALIC was actually started about 27 years ago by Randy Nations. He worked for Highway Patrol for his career, and during that time, Arizona Highway Patrol had their own liquor squad. They worked hand in hand with the Department of Liquor. They traveled all over the state doing enforcement, and that's what Randy was doing in DPS. When it came time for to retire, he retired, but he had bar owners calling him saying, "Hey Randy, can you come talk to my employees, because there's really no one to teach them." Because before that, the state hadn't really set up a regulated and qualified, instruction program to have people train out there. So Randy was, the first to really get out there and start doing that. And then he had bar owners ask him to help him fill out the applications, because historically with governments, they like to change the forms on you unknowingly. And he was able to stay up on what forms needed to be where. So that's really how it started 27 years ago. And now it's built into an amazing place. We've got guys like Kevin Grosjean with 25 plus years experience owning, operating high volume bars, fine dining. We've got Buzz Paris, a retired Mesa cop, did 15 years at the state, finalized his time with the state at the Department of Liquor. He does our in-house security training, a bunch of our basic courses, and he's key for all of our events. He does a lot of our money running and works in the cash room with our counters. But just a great team. We got our girls, Rhonda and Miranda.
Yeah.
They came from either Department of Liquor or the City of Phoenix in their licensing, so we've got the best staff here. My partner Amy, she's been with ALIC for 19 years now.
Wow.
I believe it's 19, maybe longer, but yeah, and so we've got a great core of people that we go out and train, we go out and work with bar owners, and we brought in insurance about 2 years ago into the business by partnering with you and having you take care of our clients, which has been amazing, because now they can come in here with a one-stop shop, everything from fingerprinting to applications to training, and now they can meet with you for insurance. So it's been a great benefit, not only for us, but for our clients.
Yeah, and it's really unique, and it does fit hand in hand. I mean, even with a lot of the other brokers that I'm friendly with in other states that do bar restaurant insurance, none of them have their own in-house training program, and training is absolutely key in this market, as we've discussed many times throughout with Title IV and the way that it is presented out here in Arizona. A liquor establishment can serve one drink and literally be on the hook for just serving that drink because of the lack of personal responsibility a patron may not have, basically, by going to other places. So these places all get tied in. They have to be represented by the insurance carrier, and these attorneys will go and they'll sue everybody down the road if there was an accident or, God forbid, a death or something like that. So having training and having all these implementations that you guys help produce and trained employees throughout is key for these establishments, and that's why we make a great team together, doing
100%.
doing that stuff. Tell me a little bit, now you have your own training room in the back over here, and what days do you usually train? How does that work? How can people utilize that sort of service?
Our clients are open, our classes are open to the public, but we focus mainly on our clients. So every Tuesday at 10 a.m. we do a basic class. Every Saturday at 1 p.m. we have a basic liquor law class. Follows the guidelines from what the Arizona Administrative Code, the rules designate what we need to teach. But it's also the fact that our guys come from law enforcement and industry backgrounds, can speak to actual situations and how to work in those situations. There's a lot of people out there attempting to do training that have zero industry experience. It's almost a disservice for them. But guys like Kevin Grosjean, Buzz Paris, and Casey Johnson, and we have Danny Thomas, Dietland classes up north. It's just the level of trainer that we have just been lucky enough to obtain.
Yeah.
It's been great for the industry.
Well, you have a great reputation, and the fact of the matter is, you came from the Department of Liquor. The Department of Liquor, endorses what you do, and you certify these people, and education. It doesn't matter whether you're a bar, nightclub, restaurant, or you're an attorney or an insurance agent or whatever it is. Education is key to becoming better at your craft, and knowing and protecting others around you as well. So huge component of what you do. What are, you had mentioned a few of the other things you do as far as security training. I know you represent people on their liquor license if they have questions or things happen and stuff like that. So what are some other key services that you offer that people may not be aware about?
Yeah, so we're basically the one-stop shop. You can come in if you're deciding what business you're going to get into. We can guide you towards the appropriate license type. We do the application process for you. We fill out the applications and meet with the Department of Liquor. And then after we file the application with the department, it gets sent to the local governing body. We'll keep up the communications to ensure the local governing body gets all the additional paperwork that they're going to require. We do the use permits for a local governing body, which are time consuming and involves us notifying all the neighborhood, or people live within, a certain distance, depending on the city, of what the intentions are of the business, if it's gonna have outdoor dining or outdoor speakers, if it's gonna have interior live music, stuff like that. We need to notify the community when a new business is taken over. So we do the use permits. As far as back to the training though, we have the basic management courses and in-house security. The key to it is when we go in and talk to some business owners, they're doing a great job training their servers, but sometimes they miss out on key personnel.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily sending their security guards to the Title IV training. They may not be sending their front of the house host and hostess to training.
Yeah.
That's their first line of defense. Having your in-house security or your host and hostess trained, that's the first person that's going to have communications with your patrons entering.
Yeah.
So it's picking out key things like that and helping them just to make sure they build the protections. We serve as the agent on the license, so we can file extensions, exemptions, off-site storage requests. If you want to form a co-op, then we can fill out that paperwork. And a lot of times owners live out of town, and then the establishment's going to work with a nonprofit group, do a special event, and we can sign off to give permission for the nonprofit group to hold their event within the four walls of the business, basically.
Yeah.
We work real closely with the nonprofit groups to make sure they're being represented, because historically there's been some issues in the state where these groups would come in from out of state, run these events on a special event license, and then leave, and then the nonprofit groups weren't either paid properly or were left with the violation. So we work closely with the Department of Liquor and the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers Association, the Beer and Wine Spirits Wholesaler Association, and all the crews that were working on the omnibus bills each year to help protect the nonprofits by doing some adjustments to the statutes for special events.
Yeah.
And that's what created the special event contractor. It's a group, so historically with special events, it was issued to a nonprofit group. They were supposed to be handling the alcohol service. But that's more to where there's no way those small organizations can really bring in the manpower to handle that, so they started working with bartending groups. The nonprofit group was the only one supposed to be writing the checks for the product for the event, but those nonprofit groups don't have thousands and thousands of dollars in their account to be buying the alcohol and paying the bands to come in. So it's adjusted. Now we have special event contractors that can come in after being vetted by the state to ensure that they're qualified to do business. And so there's a handful of them out there now that are approved.
Yeah.
And some of the bigger promoters, the Steve Levines of the world, all the big promoters are getting that qualification so they can go out in, then when the nonprofit groups or the event people can come to them, they can show that they've been vetted by the state. And
Wow.
they have weight in the game now.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of intricacies and stuff that go into all this. It's absolutely crazy if you think about it. what would you say are the most common liquor licenses that are out there, the numbers and what's associated with them, and just for people that just don't even know. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're in the hospitality industry, a 12 is a restaurant license, and you can do what 60%
Alcohol.
booze, and 40% food, and then a 6 would be more of a a nightclub
Your
sort of
historical bar license. yeah.
license sort of thing. But what are some of the other maybe newer ones, or ones that people don't really get kind of confused, where you can take alcohol off, that sort of stuff?
There's a couple, I mean, there's a few things that are new, but probably the newest, which had the most impact, was the creation of the craft distillers license. We weren't having too many distilleries in Arizona. They pushed for legislation a few years ago. Attorney Pete Shellstraight helped and wrote the statute for the craft distillers, which created an industry here in Arizona. And some of the products here, you got Grand Canyon, you got Elgin, you got Arcadia. We're putting out some great products because of the creation of new statutes. There's probably the need for a few more license types out there. California, you can look, there's a license for every situation.
Yeah.
Here you kind of have to piecemeal things together to try and figure out how to get it done. There is a big need for, there's hair salons, nail salons, barber shops, art galleries that historically in Arizona are allowing or giving their customers a drink of alcohol, which is a violation. So there needs to be a creation of a new license type for them. Some of them are doing it legally. They went out and purchased a Series 7 license and brought it in, which has helped to drive the Series 7 licenses higher up in value to where it's, less affordable. And a Series 7 is a beer and wine bar. Allows you to consume beer and wine only for on-premise consumption, and then they can sell up to 30% of their total volume to go.
What's the cost of something like that?
It was staying steady about 40,000. There's a couple out there right now. One guy wanted 60-some thousand for his, but it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
There'll be a few after season come up and available, so we'll see that what he's wanting for his, probably want to be able to obtain it. He'll have to come down if he really is serious about selling it. And we have others that are probably going to be putting them on the market in the mid-40s.
So is there only a set number, whether it's a 6 or a 7 or whatever it is there only a set number of licenses that are out there, and so people have to wait for somebody to either sell one or maybe more, or create it as more of the population comes in and there's a lottery? How does that work? 3
of our licenses in Arizona are quota licenses. That's the Series 6 full bar license, the Series 7 beer and wine bar license, and the Series 9, which is the full liquor store license. Those are quota licenses. They're treated as real property. You can't just go down to the state and buy one and go into business. All the other licenses are sold by the state. You can go get them, and they can't transfer. Now, obviously, you can do an acquisition and control. So if the business, one of the non-transferable licenses held by an LLC, I could buy the assets and the LLC, and there could be technically an ownership change in that.
Got it.
But the license didn't transfer from one ownership to the other, it stayed at that LLC. But the Series 6, 7, and 9, they can transfer from location to location and from person to person.
Okay.
But they have to stay within the county. The original numbers were out, and then they could increase those one by every increase in 10,000 new people moving to the county. The state went many years without following that and just not issuing anymore. It was within, Alan Everett started doing it when he was director. Director Koch is doing it now, and it's bringing them back up a little bit, but they have to show 10,000 more people and moved in to get a Series 6 or a Series 9. 2 years ago, it was changed to allow the 7s to be issued a 1 to every 5,000 increase in the county.
Yeah.
Which is great for counties like Maricopa and Pinal, but some of the smaller counties in Arizona, they're not seeing the increase in people moving to the area, so.
Very limited.
Yeah, and there's been just, throughout time, licenses have just not been used long enough that the state then takes them back, and they disappear from the books. So we're a little bit off in the number of the quota licenses that could really be out servicing the community, but all the other licenses, you can go down to the state, as long as the location qualifies for that type of license.
And besides not having a felony? I mean, what other
Right.
stipulations work with you? You know, like I'm Joe Blow that just got done doing, you know, IT and tech, and I want to open up a distillery and get a license. What other stipulations happen in order for you to get that?
You know, you have to decide what type of ownership you have. It's gonna be an individual, corporation, LLC, partnership, you know, what your business plan is and if you can afford it.
Yeah.
You know, we can coach you through what licenses. Obviously, if you're in a production style license, you're not only gonna be regulated by the state, but you're gonna be regulated by the federal government, so you're gonna have to get your basic permit issued from them. A distillery plant, whether you're a winery, tax-paid bottling plant, you have to kind of lay out exactly what you wanna do, so we'll know exactly what types of licenses you're gonna need. Health department's gonna be involved in production because you're making beverages, people are gonna consume them, so it's not just a overnight decision, I don't think that people should make, and there's many times people come in that are, you know, they've retired, the kids are grown, they always enjoyed, you know, stopping off a couple nights and having a beer with the boys before they go home, and now that they're retired and have time on their hands, they decide they wanna open a bar. I try to talk them out of it,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
You know, I tell them it'd probably be easier to go and adopt 3 toddlers and raise them than it would be to, you know, operate a bar if you had no experience and you're at that point in life.
Yeah, I've had that conversation many a times with people that are getting ready to, you know, insure a place that they're just getting into, and I'm like, so what's your background or your experience? They're like, oh, I don't have any. Oh, okay, cool. You just want to give me the 50 grand, and you know, I'll save you, you know, 150 on the back end. But you know, some of them do work out, and I know a lot of what, you know, what we like to let people know is that there's an added value to using a service such as yours. There's an added value to doing insurance through, you know, a specialized broker such as myself, and there's a lot that goes into this. I mean, you don't just show up to the Department of Liquor and say, hey, I'd like to get a license. I mean, there's probably a lot of just redlining that goes around, and a lot of aggravation, a lot of frustration, and a lot of time. And nothing against the Department of Liquor and nothing against anything else. There's just a process, and if you don't understand that process and you've never done it before, or even if you have done it before and there's a little bit of a history there, you can have your back against the wall for a while.
And it's tough to kind of figure out how to navigate the licensing world.
Yeah.
Because each city is a little different. They require different fees, they require different things. And the state's pretty consistent, but a lot of things change, you know, with their processes down there. And they change often.
Yeah.
You know, and so staying in constant communication with them, we can keep up with some of their changes. Some catch us off guard though, but for the most part, we're working real close with local governing bodies and the state and the federal government for ensuring compliance, and we get these people open. That's our biggest thing, is to make sure we get people open, get them employing people, make sure they're doing it safely and properly, and just so they can succeed.
So that's a good point. So let's talk about also the extra added value that carries on. So, you know, you get hired, you get them open, you do all this, but there's still a whole basis of things that can happen and will happen. And let's talk about some of the violations that you see, and the most common ones, and maybe the cub detail, and how you can go to the director or whomever at the Department of Liquor and make a case for your client and help them and do that sort of stuff.
I think where the big thing comes in is, you know, training, obviously. So you have a guy that's opening a brand new place, and he does a great job of getting everybody that's going to start with him trained. They bring somebody in and train the entire staff, which is a great program, and I recommend it. But we all know within about 3 to 6 months, 30 to 40% of that staff is gone, and now you've brought in new people that, before they hit the floor, should attend the same style of training, and so they hear the same message. And just because they come in and say they have experience, they might have learned bad habits at other locations.
Yeah.
So you need to sit down and go over your policy and procedures manual and make sure they understand, you know, what it is that you expect and how they are to perform in those roles. So that's a big one. Those are some of the key areas of mistakes. And you have to trust, but you verify with your employees. So a lot of times, some of our clients will hire us and we go in and spot check them. Either we bring in a team that watches to tell if the bartenders are over pouring, If the bartenders are drinking while working, if you have product leaving out the back door, was the business just a total mess that night,
Right.
you know, kind of that. And then we can also run in with our underage program where we come in and check to see that the employees are doing their job.
Yeah.
It's run a lot and as strict as the state runs their program, but we do it solely for our clients. You know, if we start working with a new client, and I've seen them, you know, have a 50% failure rate, then after working with us, we'll get them down to less than 3% on their failure rate, and some will pass with flying colors.
Yeah.
But it's always good for the employees to know that it's possible they're gonna get checked. The state runs that program. If they do it, the employee's gonna get a criminal citation and the business gonna get administrative sanctions against them. And I was just talking to the director, it's frustrating for them because, you know, they're now about a 50% failure rate on the locations they're going to.
Wow.
And they're trying to do educational, trying to put out information. And if they get a complaint that an establishment is serving the kids, they send them a letter letting them know they're coming. They call and speak to a manager and tell them they're coming, and then they come in and they're still having a pretty high failure rate.
Yeah.
So the director is planning on raising the fines.
And what are the
underage.
costs of the fines for like underage drinking?
You know, it all depends, because they have kind of a staggered program
Yeah.
for the first offense, second. But if you served underage, did you check the ID? And if you checked the ID, did you use an ID log? Did you just not even bother to ask for ID? You
Yeah.
know, or are you using the doorman and the doorman thought he knew the person let him in, but the bartender assumed that the doorman was doing his job and checking
Right.
ID. So it all really is dependent. It can run up to, you know, I've seen them, you know, for just one kid getting served without checking IDs, it could be over $3,000
Yeah.
in fines against the business. And for something starting out, that could be tough. If they sometimes send the underage in pairs. And so now you can double that. You can get 2 counts of failure to check ID, 2 counts of sales to underage out of the one inspection.
And so, I mean, to be clear with everybody listening, I mean, my assumption is that the department doesn't want to just go and administer fines to make money. They want people to abide by the rules and.
Yeah, the fines I don't think are a big thing because the department doesn't get to keep the fines.
Okay.
You know, that program's set up where the fine money goes straight into the general fund, so that doesn't motivate them to just
Yeah.
get out there and keep writing tickets. But they do have overtimes that are overtime money that's specific for going out and targeting
Yeah.
underage kids. And well, let's face it, you know, if you're in an establishment, you don't need people under 21 in there. You're talking to some of the club owners, the nightclub owners and bar owners. You know, the younger kids will get in there, they have a few drinks, start punching holes in the drywall.
Right.
Fortunately, for guys our age, I just don't have the energy to act that way, you know, so.
Yeah.
We don't do it, not that we would have done it as kids anyway, but it's just, younger kids coming in drinking causes problems, and there's some problems around the universities with, you know, underage drinking.
Well, there's definitely a higher liability, you know, issue on my half, you know, as far as insurance and insuring those places. But, you know, let's make no bones about it. And, you know, I mean, restaurants are not immune to not getting fined or not being, you know, I mean, you can be, you know, Joe's Fine Steakhouse or whatever,
Right.
and Cub Detail can come right in there and you can, you know, you can get hammered just the same way as a nightclub or bar or anything like that.
And listen, we can go in and find violations pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, there's a requirement to have the fetal alcohol found within so many feet of the register. Some of our statutes are really antiquated, and it would be nice if the enforcement community could realize that some of those things are not significant. That's why you typically don't get tickets for no license plate light.
Yeah.
Use it to help educate maybe, but I mean, there's just no reason, oh, no fetal alcohol warning sign, it doesn't change anybody. I don't think anybody in history has walked into a bar while they're pregnant, looked at the sign and said, wow, I never knew I shouldn't drink alcohol.
So let's, let me ask you, obviously without naming any names, because we don't do that, but what are some crazy, maybe 1 or 2 crazy situations that you've seen in your, you know, umpteen years of doing this, as far as, just, I don't know, just some stories that somebody would, you know, just love to hear? Just,
And I'd love to write a book over some of
Yeah.
the, you know, craziness. One time we were working an outdoor live music event, we were in the car driving, and there was a lot of outdoor kind of tailgate partying around this large event. And we're in a small car. My partner and I are driving, and there's some kind of animal out there. I can see it bouncing around. And this thing comes tearing out. And we're driving around with the windows down so we can hear what's going on. And a monkey jumped in the car. This thing had fangs and went right across my lap. I thought, man, I'm going to have to shoot it if it starts attacking one of us. But all I did is jump up and ripped up on our thirst busters and just started munching on ice. But then you're thinking, well, do I jump out of the car and run, or is it going to see me moving and take off? I mean, that was kind of the fun ones. But there's also been times we go to, you know, EDM festivals, and you can see that some of the kids on Molly or ketamine, whatever they're on, they're just in another planet.
Yeah.
And they're walking around like zombies. It really is kind of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
So in those situations, I'm sure if something bad happened, they, you know, try to blame the alcohol. When it's not the alcohol, it's the illicit drugs that were being used. And I don't think parents understand what really takes place at some of those festivals and what the kids are actually doing. And the liability both for the parents and the facility.
Well, it's you know, you bring up a good point, and I think it's a good segue just on your opinion on the whole, you know, marijuana thing, and now places are infusing, you know, we talked about earlier today, pizza and pasta with HTC, you know, and
THC.
or THC, I was thinking of the piercing place, but yeah, with THC, and I mean, like, what's your opinion on that? How crazy or non-crazy do you think that is?
That, you know, that's going to be an industry changer. You know, once, now we have basically medical marijuana in edible form. Now you can go and get your medical marijuana in the form of a pizza.
Yeah.
What a win.
What about the form of an alcoholic drink? What do
And
they
well,
start infusing?
they are doing, there's multiple places infusing their alcoholic beverages with CBDs, which is actually, you know, it can't be claimed for sure, you know, because you don't want to get in trouble, but it is helping with hangovers, relief.
Yeah.
It's helping restore damage to the cells from maybe overindulgence in alcohol. So there are CBD cocktails out there that are, and people are raving about them, about how much better they're feeling from taking the CBDs.
Yeah. Is your favorite part of your job when you're out, just say you're out in the field and you're doing stuff, and whether it be an event or, you know, just going to a nightclub or giving some advice, or is your favorite part dealing with drunk people?
No. My favorite part is the people that work in this industry. They're the kindest, most thoughtful, hardworking, and just that good dang people work in this industry. And it doesn't matter what aspect of the industry I meet, and I just enjoy spending time with meeting new people.
Yeah.
Dealing with honorary drunks, I don't enjoy, but once in a while it's a little fun.
It's a little, yeah. We got some other stories on that. you know, I mean, you and I, obviously you know, we work together, we do a lot of stuff, and we'll do, you know, a lot of these different, I wanted to introduce you on my podcast, get people familiar with who you are, and you know, talk about your company and the things that go on. But you know, as I go on in my career and other situations come up and other incidents, and as we can talk about, you know, specific industry topics like the wine industry or the craft brewers or stuff like that, we can do separate podcasts just, you know, based on that and bring other people in and everything. But you personally, just so people can kind of, you know, put a personality with, you know, who you are, like, what are some of the hobbies that you have now? What do you enjoy, you know, doing when you're not working? I know you have, you know, a really awesome family and you like spending time with them, but what's some stuff you like getting into?
Obviously spending time with my daughters and my wife, traveling in Arizona, seeing other members of my family. Two of my girls are up north in Flagstaff, one of them's here locally. My wife and I, we spend a lot of time hanging out together. Doesn't necessarily like shopping with me because I like to collect crazy items, and she likes to put things away, so our disorders kind of work together. I'm a hoarder and she's a cleaner, so that's kind of fun. For me anyway, not necessarily for her. I enjoy movies, I enjoy live music, I really enjoy working.
Yeah.
So
How many days a week do you work? 8?
probably 7 to 8, yeah. If there was an 8th day in the week, some weeks I need to squeak an 8th day in there
Yeah.
for sure.
And your wife's pretty cool with that? I mean, you guys have an understanding and...
We have an understanding. She works a lot, doing
Yeah.
her personal training, so she's up very early in the morning, which gives me time to have coffee and tea on my own before going to work.
Yeah.
And she gets home a little bit before I do sometimes, and so it works out perfectly. We're now doing a little bit of gardening, not necessarily hands in the earth gardening. We do our gardening via tower
The tower,
gardens.
yeah. I'm
So it's
the
kind
hands
of
in
a
the earth, you're the
hydroponic.
tower.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we have to exchange vegetables for sure.
Recipes and vegetables.
That is too funny. Well, no, this has been awesome. I'm glad we got to, introduce you to, the people out there within my Rolodex, and I know a lot of them already know you, so this will be, hopefully they pick up on some other information. Is there anything else that you want to say, or any advice for, anybody going to get a liquor besides hire me and let me do it for you and take all that pain, off of you? But anything else you want to leave with before?
Here's the deal, they can feel free to call us anytime. We get calls, or I get calls all hours of the night. They can feel free to call me, get my number from you and call me, and if I can help them, I will.
Yeah.
If we can guide them down an easier path to make it easier for them, we will. We'd love to work with all of them.
Yeah.
But we understand some people want to do things themselves, but they might just have a couple of questions that we can help them with, and we'll be happy to do that.
You're good like that. That again, why I'm associated with you, because it's the same thing. I have people call me all the time that don't do insurance with me, and that's totally fine. I'm here to help, to educate, and to give back.
Yes.
The rest of it just comes, and it comes naturally. And what's funny is you may talk to somebody 10 times over the course of 2 years, and the next thing you know, they're calling you and say, look, I just want you on the team and hire you, I can do this now, that sort of thing. So
Right.
yeah, well, that's great. It's been a good morning chatting with you, and we'll get this thing published here in the next couple days. This will be my 4th podcast.
Woo.
So yeah, right, I believe I've got Aaron Chamberlain from Phoenix Public Market coming on next, so that'll be kind of cool. I'll have my first restaurateur. We'll get another aspect of things going on. I've got Devour this weekend, so I'll be out all weekend doing that food festival and posting all that stuff. I will, I have all of Craig's information. I'll be posting this on LinkedIn. I'll be posting it on, Instagram and Facebook and all that. And, you all know how to get a hold of me, and any questions, please feel free to hit us up. So thank you so much for listening. Please, subscribe if you can. I promise to, deliver more, quality and hopefully added value stuff for any and everybody that's listening in business, hospitality, whatever it is. And, thanks for listening. So peace out.
Thank you.